Welcome to the shadows of American history, where truth was buried and files were sealed. From secret operations to stories erased from textbooks, this is what they never wanted you to know. This is the Silent Report. Welcome back to the Silent Report, the place where buried truths rise and where history's darkest corners are illuminated. Tonight, we dive deep into a classified operation, one that begins not in Washington, D.C., but in the shadows of Peshawar, Pakistan. An operation wrapped in silence, laced with fear, and buried beneath layers of government denial. This is the story of Project IBEX, a secret CIA mission that reportedly went far beyond intelligence gathering, and entered the realm of psychological control, human experimentation, and mind manipulation. This story begins in the 1950s, the height of the Cold War. The United States and the Soviet Union were engaged in a silent battle for dominance. Not just militarily, but mentally. Intelligence agencies on both sides weren't just intercepting enemy plans, they were crafting a new kind of war, one that involved controlling perception, altering behavior, and penetrating the human mind. Out of this obsession, Project IBEX was born. Officially, IBEX was a joint CIA and U.S. Air Force project, allegedly designed to intercept Soviet radar signals and communications from strategic locations. But former insiders and declassified fragments tell a darker tale. Because Project IBEX wasn't just about listening. It was about experimenting, testing new technologies, sound frequencies, neurological interference, psychotropic drugs, all to explore how the human brain could be read, or reprogrammed. And the perfect location for such testing. A country far from American soil. A country close to Soviet territory. A country whose leadership, in the name of strategic alliance, gave quiet permission to a very loud secret. That country was Pakistan. The CIA found what it was looking for in the rugged hills just outside of Peshawar. A location known as Badabar Air Station. On paper, it was a logistics and communication center. In reality, it was a fortress, off-limits even to most Pakistani officials. There were wings of the compound where only U.S. personnel could enter. Rooms that didn't exist on any map. Chambers built below ground, soundproofed and sealed. What was going on in there? Former technicians describe strange machines, glowing monitors measuring brainwaves, and subjects, humans, strapped into chairs. Silent, eyes wide, not blinking, as if something inside them had been switched off. Some say Project IBEX was an overseas extension of MK-Ultra, the CIA's most notorious mind control program. While MK-Ultra operated inside the US, many of its experiments were shut down following public backlash. So, what did the CIA do? According to whistleblowers, it moved the operation offshore. And Pakistan, desperate for US support during the Cold War, quietly opened its doors. But who were the test subjects? Not volunteers. Not criminals. Not even prisoners. They were the disappeared. Refugees, political agitators, tribal villagers, people whose names were never recorded. They were brought into the base under the cover of darkness. Some were injected with LSD. Others were subjected to sensory deprivation, locked in pitch-black rooms for days. Some were exposed to low-frequency radio waves while their brain activity was monitored. And all of this was off the books. Nothing was documented. No records. No oversight. Because this wasn't science, it was secrecy. Then, in 1960, something happened that almost blew the whole operation open. A U-2 spy plane, flown directly out of the Badabar base, was shot down by Soviet missiles over Russian airspace. The pilot, Francis Gary Powers, survived. Captured. Interrogated. And when he confessed that he was working for the CIA, the world learned, for the first time, that America was operating spy missions from deep within Pakistan. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. The US denied any illegal activity. The Pakistani government downplayed it. And the real secret, Project IBEX, remained hidden. But insiders say that after the U-2 incident, the pressure increased. The CIA began moving assets, destroying files, and burying deeper into secrecy. Still, the experiments continued. Locals living near the Badabar base reported strange things. Men who never spoke. People who wandered into villages with blank stares, unable to remember their names. One villager recalls, "I saw a man, barefoot, wearing a hospital gown. just standing in the middle of a field. He looked straight through me. No soul in his eyes. Was he a subject of Project IBEX? We may never know. But the base remained active, quietly, for nearly 2 more decades. And what happened next, in 1979, would change everything. 1979, the year the silence at Bothaber was shattered, not by whistleblowers, not by declassified files, but by fire and blood. According to official reports, Afghan prisoners held inside the Bothaber base staged a violent uprising. They overpowered guards, seized weapons, and attempted to break free. But what those reports leave out is why they were there in the first place. And what exactly they were trying to expose. Whispers suggest these prisoners weren't enemy combatants, they were subjects. Test cases. Human data points in a CIA-controlled experiment. They had been held for months, some for years, subjected to neurological conditioning, forced sedation, and sensory isolation. The uprising was not just an act of escape. It was an act of desperation. Of revelation. What followed was a bloodbath. Shots rang out. Buildings caught fire. Chaos erupted inside the base. Witnesses from nearby villages reported thick smoke rising over the compound. Helicopters landed. Trucks sped away in the night. And in the midst of it all, American personnel were seen loading boxes, files, machines, sealed containers, onto planes. By the next morning, Project IBEX had vanished. Officially, the facility was abandoned. The Pakistani military claimed full control. But by then, all physical evidence had been burned, buried, or airlifted away. And with it, the last traces of the CIA's most hidden operation disappeared from the public eye. But not from history. Because you cannot erase trauma. You cannot unsee what was seen. And the echoes of Project IBEX continued in whispers, in the broken minds of those who survived, and in the researchers who were silenced. Some insiders claim that IBEX was not destroyed, only relocated. That its research went underground, into military-grade neurotechnology, behavior modification, and, eventually, digital influence operations. Let's think about that. Today, you don't need a secret lab to influence someone's thoughts. You have algorithms, targeted ads, neuromapping through your smartphone usage. Apps track your emotions. Your microphone picks up stress patterns in your voice. Even the timing of your sleep and the speed of your scrolling is analyzed. So ask yourself, did Project IBEX really end? Or did it evolve? Is the experiment over? Or are we the experiment now? Look around. Behavioral nudging, information warfare, emotion-based content optimization. The techniques developed in those secret chambers might be powering your social media feed, right now. Because today, the battlefield is no longer a base in Peshawar. It's your mind, your beliefs, your attention span, and the silence. It's still part of the design. Project IBEX was successful not because of what it discovered, but because of how well it was hidden. A hidden base, a hidden agenda, and a hidden future. This is the legacy of Project IBEX. So what do we do now? We investigate, we question, we refuse to be silent. Because silence is the greatest weapon of control. And if we don't speak up, we become just another experiment. This has been the Silent Report, where secrets don't sleep, and truth is never forgotten.